anything to do with it? If you're a board member at GM and used to work with Tesla?
You know, advising Mary and the team behind the scenes for sure. But this was really driven by Mary and Elon. And Mary recognizing that the biggest barrier to EV adoption is charging. When I have friends that say, should I get an electric vehicle? They're often the first issue is, where do I get it charged? And are charges reliable? Yes. The charging standard that has been in place outside of Tesla hasn't been that reliable. 1 out of 4 times you pull up to a charger and it doesn't work. And Mary and the GM team saw that and they said, this is a barrier to adoption. The Tesla standard is better, it's more reliable, it doesn't break when you drop it, it's easy to handle, and therefore to get more people in EVs, we ought to adopt the better standard. So it's a little bit like a Betamax VHS moment where companies are choosing sides on which standard is going to prevail.
And it seems to be, of course, Tesla's standard. You were there several years ago now, but was that ever part of the game plan, own the EV space? Because it's a nice little money spinner. I mean, one analyst thinking it is $3 billion a year it could be. Yeah,
it was originally just conceived to get people to get in EVs and to feel confident that if they were going to take a trip, that there would be a charger there for them. Now, I think you're right. This is a bit of an AWS moment for Tesla, where they're taking something that's been a cost burden for them and turning it into a revenue source.
Ultimately, are there any issues with the way in which we see mass adoption using Tesla? I mean, we think about here in New York, everyone, the very governors, mayors, people trying to ensure that there's investment in EV charging and not always turning to Tesla for that. Will there be competition in the space, or will we all just admit that it'll end up being a Tesla world that we live in?
I think there'll be competition in the space because essentially what Tesla's done here is they've open sourced their technology to the industry. So GM is going to be building chargers and its own chargers, but on the Tesla standard. And I think you're going to see more and more of the charging networks moving to this standard because it's just a better standard.
Talk to us a little bit more about where you're seeing opportunities within the EV space. As you're someone who's, correct me if I'm wrong, DVx, the venture company that you've built, in 2020 you first founded it, has a different model, not only in how you charge fees and the like, but it's ultimately about building companies within. You're like incubating ideas and bringing a CEO to match with that.
That's exactly right.
Are you trying to fix the world of EVs?
We are.
Yeah,
we are. We're active because this ecosystem is going to grow so quickly. Like we're talking about chargers now, and there are 40,000 fast chargers in the US. There are 4 million in China. It just gives you a sense of the growth that we're going to see here as we convert from gas cars to electric cars. And we're playing in that space. So you're right. We're different in that our fund charges no fee, no carry. But we're also different in that we invent the companies from the start, and we own 100% of them from the start. And so we've got a company called Kirby, which is for EV and gas cars, where the cars are serviced in the customer's driveway. 80% of what you can fix in a customer's car, we figured out at Tesla, was something you could do in a customer's driveway. So Kirby shows up, it fixes the car magically. You don't have to go anywhere, sign anything, do anything. And it takes all this hassle out of the maintenance of these kinds of cars.
What do you see about the last mile in general and the offering there? You were executive at Lyft for about a year when it went public, and I'm thinking about the way in which I get to work, which is biking.
Right.
Well, this is a company that's under duress. We all know this. And I've sat down with a new CEO, and he's talked about perhaps the sale not being off the table. How do you see us all, our future of transit, if ultimately VC-backed companies kind of can't quite work out the business model once they're public?
I think there are, like you said, in the last mile, there are opportunities for rides that are less than a mile. That's typically like a bike or a scooter. More than a mile, it may be an electric bike. And more than 3 or 5 miles, it's probably some sort of vehicle like a car. And so there are companies that have been successful in this space. Tier in Europe is one where it's got micromobility spread across the continent. Same with Bolt. And here in the US, Lime. And so you've had successful micromobility models emerge that are VC-backed and are poised to return capital to investors. So I think we'll see more of the future of micromobility that's electric.
Do you think Lyft will be around as a name in that last mile?
I think the industry is structured for 2 players at least. So I don't think we're going to see a structural monopoly with just one. And so I think here in the US, you're going to continue to see Uber and Lyft duke it out city by city.